I'm WG and we just got the full NARJA reveal. In this video, you'll be getting everything from every singular Epiphany to the base cards, to the potential, to the ego manifestations, the partner and everything else the like, as well as my already initial opinions on where and what these cards are going to be useful. And here we have ourselves our NARJA lobby screen. She does look like she's getting ready for, I don't know, something like a wedding. Makes me wonder who is she going to marry. But before we get into her direct kit, we have two big things to talk about. Number one, coincidentally positioned, is Veracity. So Veracity is going to be her main buff. That buff is something that she stacks herself and is effective on every single attack card you play team-wide. What it does is you play an attack card and you trigger a 40% fixed heal, meaning a 40% heal based on her own defense. If your health is higher than 50%, then you also further get a plus 30% damage amount dealt by the attack card played. When the effect is activated, decrease by 1. Important here, it is not per attack card but per hit. So if you have 5 Veracity stacks and a 5 hit card, you're going to consume all 5 stacks, empower all 5 hits by 30% and heal for a total of 200%. And then we have ourselves the Predation. If in a Veracity state, meaning that if you have a Veracity stack, Predation says that you deal plus 80% damage amount dealt by attack cards, and when the effect is activated, decreases by 1. Meaning that Predation is going to trigger alongside of Veracity and can increase the damage bonus from 30 to 80 while also being at 1 reduced per hit. So now that you understand Veracity and Predation, let's have a look at the base kit. So we are going to be starting this whole thing off with a basic attack that deals 120% defense-based damage. Yes, she deals defense-based damage. Then we have a double heal at 2 Veracity and 1 cost. Those are the basic cards. Starting with the first one, Shackles of Hunger. Shackles of Hunger deals 3 instances of 36% defense-based damage, and attunement means that upon you drawing this card through whatever means, start of the turn, Cassius, Surge card, anything, however you get the card into your hand, it applies for Veracity, or it stacks for Veracity on NARJA herself, meaning the next 4 hits get the healing, get the damage increase so long as you're above 50% health. Then we have ourselves our support card, Bottomless Hunger. The next 2 times Veracity is triggered, you decrease the cost of 1 random card in hand by 1, meaning this one will reduce the cost of either 1 card twice or of 2 cards by 1, so long as you have 2 stacks of Veracity and do 2 attacks. Then we have a Voluntary Control. If Veracity is fewer than 6 stacks, you gain 6. So if you have, for example, 5, you gain yourself up to 11. If you have 6 or more stacks, you also you gain 2 Predation, right? You gain 2 Predation, meaning your next 2 attack hits are going to get the plus 80% damage bonus. We'll still have to see if it also gives you the Veracity, but it does read like it only gives you Predation. Then for the domain of Veracity, we have ourselves 120% AoE defense-based damage, and you increase the tenacity damage taken of the target by 100% until their next Ravage, meaning whatever instance of tenacity damage to their breakbar they are taking, it's getting doubled. Important here is we still have to see if this is true also for special effects like Serennials that gives you naturally 1 hit bar. It probably won't go to 2, but any damage instances themselves will do twice as much tenacity damage, bringing us to a very tiny card. We're actually going to increase the size here a bit. And also the highest costing standard card in the game, and that right here is Mealtime. So it's a retain/unique. If Veracity is decreased cost by 1, meaning that if you use 6 Veracity, this card goes from a 6 to a 0 cost. Retain and unique. And you also add 30% heal amount, max 10 times until used. The base healing is 120, and you add it up to 10 times, meaning the max healing would be 420% healing from a singular card at potentially 0 cost. And then also, you deal AoE damage, right? AoE defense-based damage with mealtime, and you gain yourself 4 stacks of predation, meaning for 4 hits plus 80% damage, only usable if Veracity is available, having us the Predator's Hunting method. You gain 10 stacks of Veracity, you do 250% defense-based damage, and if this card right here, mealtime, is in the graveyard, furthermore you gain 5 predation, meaning between this and this card you can gain up to 9 stacks of predation, meaning the next 9 hits get plus 80% damage. So that is the base cards, that is the, that's the normal stuff. And now let's get to the good stuff. We have ourselves the Epiphanies. So for the first one, you increase hit count by 1 and also Veracity gained upon draw by 2. Important to note here is also you can put this card into your discard pile and draw it back out, or you can put it into your deck and draw it back out, and you're still going to get the Veracity bonus. So cards like, for example, the Precision Aim could help you massively stack up that Veracity as a damage boost. Then here we have a cost reduction from 1 down to 0, reducing the hit count, but at the start of the turn, if Veracity was activated 3 or more times in the previous turn, meaning that you triggered it, you did it 3 attacks on 3 Veracity stacks, or 3 hits, then you also gain 1 Veracity. So instead of 4, you only gain 1, but you can get this card back to hand at 0 cost, meaning that you could play it the turn before, and then get it back into your hand for the next turn, so you can play it again, basically allowing you to play this at least once every single turn. Then, we have ourselves a 1 cost at increased damage, and also you get 1 additional hit for each Veracity owned, meaning this goes from a 63 hitter to up to a 6 hitter, so long as you have 4, 8 or 12 stacks of Veracity, with then the middle one being Retain, where you decrease your current Veracity amount by 5 and you add 40% damage to the next attack card used times the amount of stacks decreased. Meaning that if you have 6 stacks, you go from 6 down to 1. The next card will deal 200% increased damage. That 1 Veracity stack will take it from 200 to 230. And then also if you consumed the full 5, you gain 3 predation. Meaning that it goes from 200 to 230 plus a predation stack, meaning the next hit of an attack card is going to do 310% additional damage regardless of damage type. With then the last one, the Shackles of Hunger, being a purely shield generating card that gives you 72 shield, decreases your Veracity by 3, but you repeat this card for each amount decreased, meaning that this card is going to be either activated or used 4 times, so it's either just a 4 times 72% shield, or the card is actually getting used 4 times, which has some interesting, interactions with, for example, Cassius, seeing as how it's a 0 cost card. Then we have ourselves the Bottomless Hunger Epiphanies. The first one is straightforward. It just gives you 3 Veracity, keeps the effect. The secondary loses the condition that you need to activate Veracity to use it, but instead you don't have to attack to get the cost reduction. Honestly, this just seems worse off. This one is definitely better, and that's already like from first experience, right? And then Bottomless Hunger, we have a upgrade, a unique card. When Veracity activates 3 times in 1 turn, you decrease the cost of 1 random card in hand by 1 until used, but at 1 times per turn. So the leftmost one gives you 2 reduction, the other one gives you 2 reduction, but without requirement. And then this one right here only gives you 1 reduction, but you do not have to play this card out. It stays as a passive effect. Then this, you've probably already seen it, is crazy. And that is, it's a Retain card that gives you for 1 turn plus 100% defense-based damage, meaning that it's a buff. What remains to be seen is if it's for her or for the whole team, though you can assume as of this moment that this is a team-wide 100% defense-based damage buff, meaning Magna up, Maribel up, Khalib up, all these other defense-based units are getting free damage from her. And then we have the 1 cost Elite, meaning it goes to 0 cost at a 50% chance if you play it in the beginning of your turn. 7 Veracity, so increase in Veracity, and for 1 turn each time Veracity is activated, plus 40% damage amount to the next Mealtime. The next Mealtime being the purple card, meaning that you could, for example, if you in one turn use 20 veracity, you add 800% damage to the next mealtime card used. That is, yeah, kind of how you can see this Bottomless Hunger 1 version 5. And then we have ourselves Voluntary Control. If veracity is fewer than 6 stacks, gain 9, and if you have 6 or more, gain 3. So predation goes up by 1, veracity goes up by 3, from 6 to 9. And the 0 cost card, if mealtime is in your draw pile, you move it to your hand. If your mealtime is in your graveyard instead, meaning you've played it this turn, you get 3 morale for 1 turn. It also does look like you don't move mealtime from your draw pile to your from your graveyard to your hand if it's in the graveyard. So this card either gives you mealtime to your hand or it gives you 3 morale. Remains to be seen. So for 2 turns, each time the action count of the target is decreased, you gain 1 veracity, meaning that if an enemy has an action count of 10 and you use 10 attacks, you also generate yourself 10 veracity stacks, which could really help in terms of like veracity generation. Then for the double unique cards for Voluntary Control, we have 10 veracity upon playing the card, and you select 1 card and you gain 1 predation each time that card is moved to hand. The obvious conclusion here would be something like a Meilin Strike or a Serenial Homing Laser. And then for the last one, each time a basic card inflicts a hit, 1 veracity plus 50% damage amount to basic cards, meaning that a basic attack card inflicts a hit, consumes a veracity stack, you gain a veracity stack, basically boosting basic attack cards, making them free to use for veracity damage and further boosting their damage. This card is going to be one of the highlights, especially for all of you that are in favor or really like to see Mei Lin perform well. You can also think of this as a Shizuru basic attack improvement and potentially other characters, but those two will be the 2 main beneficiaries as of this moment. Next ones. So, Domain of Veracity, AoE damage, and the only change is and on Ravage 3 Veracity, meaning that if this card is the card... No, you get the Ravage damage buff, right? And then if the target gets ravaged, you also gain 3 veracity, but doesn't have to be this card doing the ravaging. Then this one also, again, keep your eyes out for this card. Looks really strong. And that is, it deals 120% damage, and for 2 turns, the target takes 100% increased defense-based damage taken. Combine that with the ability to increase defense-based damage already by 100% for 1 turn, with all these other damage boosts right here, and you can really see Khalib, Maribel, Amir, Magna, those really starting to punch some holes into people. And then we have ourselves the third one. When hitting the target for the next 5 times, heal 40%, meaning you get, you could say, twice the effect of a veracity. So every veracity used would be 40% from the veracity, 40% from the debuff, and also AoE. And this is also important. This 100% defense-based damage taken is AoE as well. Then the 4th card is Retain defense-based damage to all enemies, really high multiplier. And if you're granted both veracity and predation at the same time, meaning that if you have predation and veracity active and you play this card actually triggers twice, doing a massive 768% defense-based damage at base prior to veracity, predation damage buffs, defense-based damage buffs, team-wide damage buffs, gear buffs, all that stuff. And then also we have the unique card. Each time mealtime is used, heal 200%, which is really going to help her stand out as a healer, but does seem to rely on you potentially even multi-copying mealtime. But multi-copying mealtime and then having her with potentially a stable veracity generation seems to turn her into a healing machine. So, now that we have that out of the way, let's do the unique stats. So, unique stat is plus 10% damage amount to veracity, meaning it goes from a 30 to a 40% damage buff. And if NARJA's defense is greater than 300, plus 20% damage amount to predation, bringing it from an 80 to 100, meaning that through veracity and predation, instead of 110, you get a 130% damage buff to whatever next hit instance you're doing. Then we have ourselves the, so this is the top right potential, right? You need to bring her to level 60 to get that, and you should. So then we have increasing meal times predation by 2, meaning that you go from, let's quickly fact check this, you go from 4 predation to 6 predation. Honestly, not the greatest in the world, no real difference between E0 and E1, so you either stay E0 or you go all the way to E2, and that is because the E2 says whenever veracity is decreased, meaning upon a hit, you have a 25% chance to gain 1 veracity. An interesting interaction I just thought about is the basic attack card upgrade that gives you 1 veracity upon a basic hit, meaning that if you do enough basic hits, you might actually be, or you would be starting to gain veracity rather than lose veracity, even though you're doing a ton of hits. But overall, this just means that every 4th veracity on average you'll be getting it back. So it's extra veracity, but it's not game breaking, nor is it super important. Now for the big ones, we have ourselves the ultimate, where you gain 3 extra predation if mealtime is in the graveyard. So on the ultimate right here, you go from 5 to 8 predation, not that important. Honestly, E3, again, unimportant. E4 is the huge one, and that is plus 30% damage amount to predation. So now predation goes from a 100 to a 130% buff, meaning that if you can get yourself a reliable amount of predation, this is just a crazy amount of damage gained. But then again, it is by far the strongest out of hers, so you would have to get her 5 times. But regardless of anything, this is by no means necessary, because you still get a massive amount of damage bonus through predation, through veracity, through all these other buffs. So this is the chase, but only really if you have the funds, and keep in mind she is a standard unit. And then we have the E5, which is just 6% increase to all multipliers, basics, uniques, and common cards you take in from the outside for her, giving us the last one, which at the end of the turn deals 50% defense-based damage to random enemies and heals 1% for each predation decrease this turn, meaning that if you, for example, were able to use 10 stacks of predation this turn, you would deal 500% defense-based damage, or 10 instances of 50% damage, and heal yourself for 10% health. Overall, advice is either E0, E4, or E0 or E4, and the reason why most likely E0 is because the partner Gaia herself really is actually quite valuable in what she does, and that is the assigned combatant increases the defense, so a multiplicative defense increase. Important to note also the potential of NARJA gives her 8% defense, and then you do these buys, right? These signs means that that's copy 1 versus max copies, right? So we're only going to be talking about the first number, because that's what you should be at, that's what realistic. So you get a 20% defense-based damage for the assigned combatant's instinct cards, already limiting her to instinct, and now further limiting the partner, she's a controller partner, right, to when using a unique attack card of the assigned combatant with original cost of 6, meaning mealtime, right? There's nothing else that nothing else like this exists in the game as of this moment, meaning she's going to be exclusively used with NARJA. And what you gain is a plus 20% to damage amount of all allies at maximum 1 stack, which doesn't seem to be turn limited. So the moment you use mealtime for the first time in a fight, your whole team gets a plus 20% damage bonus to any attack cards they use. And then we have the Ice Worm's Roar, which deals 60 times 4 and allows you to draw 1 of this unit's attack cards. And that right here, ladies and gentlemen, is already her entire kit. What we then have to look at, or want to look at, is again what the devs just showed us, but we already, I guess you could say, a bit in this like slowdown period. We did go through a lot, but we did cover everything. Overall, I'd say E0 really seems to be the goal, and if you can afford it, you go E0 plus the partner. So what we have here is the fact that it is important to trigger veracity by using attack cards with high hit counts or area of effect attack cards, meaning that an AoE attack will also consume 1 veracity per target hit, meaning you'll burn through them actually quite fast. And then obviously predation will make these even stronger. With excellent AP generation through cost reduction and ravage support, we recommend that team compositions with allies that provide additional card draw, leading us to the 3 recommended teams. We have the AP ravage support / draw support in Serenial and NARJA working together to do the Ravage, to get those breaks, to get that AP that way, and then a Veronica in there for some sub DPS damage and obviously the card draw. Here we have the Moonslash upgrade maximizing inhibits effect, meaning that you can't gain AP, but you're actually using card cost reduction from NARJA, card cost reduction from the Bound at Dusk of Shizuru, and then also the basic attack improvement to Shizuru from Rei to then use a Shizuru basic attack build alongside NARJA's basic attack boosting build, so that's what they are kind of going for here. And then we just have area of effect damage to use the predation stack to just deal damage. We also gained a brief showcase of the tower showing stages 26 to 30 with mainly AoE enemies, and then also we have draw support from Nia. One team that I'd say is missing here should be what I'd consider the best team to run with NARJA, and that's probably gonna be NARJA, Serenial, and Kalib. NARJA, Serenial, Kalib, you have shields, you have heals, you have single target, you have AoE, you have defense-based damage, you have normal damage, you have predation stacks, you have upgrade stacks, you have high cost cards to auto-trigger Kalib's cards. That team is going to be a behemoth, especially in the tower, where AoE attack damage really seems to be favored, and also there is a buff for defense-based damage. So that was it, and as always we see each other in the next one with a patch notes and also a comparison between Serenial and NARJA and who to go for and how much